Hi guys. Give me a second, okay? I'll be right back. Right back. Trying to pick out which one should I eat. This is one of my favorites, so I'm gonna go with my favorite. My favorite. Cancel water. It is. Oh, it's only 9:12. Wow. Wowzers. It's still early. No shit, because I got up early. I'm an early bird, even on the weekends. So, got me some cereal. On purpose, because somebody commented on my video saying it's a turn off to eat while you're talking. That's just your perspective. For some people, it's a turn on. Either way, clearly I don't give a damn. I think some of y'all don't get that I make these videos more so for me to share them with you guys. Only thing I wish I can just play music while I'm live. That's the only thing. And there's nothing like drinking a cold glass of water while eating cereal. I forgot my water. I know the trash people come on Saturday. They usually come at night. This is my breakfast, you guys. Sometimes I eat cereal and sometimes I eat a breakfast sandwich. There's always something happening outside my windows. I wonder if it's going to rain today. It rained. I think it rained last night. I was like, oh yes. Oh yes. This is for all the men who come on my post trying to tell me what to do. This one is for you. I just laughed though. When I saw that comment, it's a turn off to eat while you're talking. And then I looked at the dude's picture. I'm just like, yo, you ugly as shit. This motherfucker out there talking about a turn off. I'm like, have you looked in the fucking mirror at yourself? Oh my gosh. Don't get me started, yo. It's too early, yo. I'm not identified as a masochist, but I think I might have some flavor, some air of sadism in me. I think we all do, though. I like to piss people off sometimes. Just, yeah, I love it. I like to see people's reaction. I remember this infamous quote on 92.7. It's a radio station in Jacksonville, Florida. They used to always say this. They say, he who angers you controls you. There's something about making someone mad, yo. Or just doing the opposite of what they expect you to do, what they want you to do. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that. Maybe you should use paradoxical intent. So maybe if you tell me to eat while I'm live, maybe I won't do it. It's all about the mental with me, you guys. You gotta know that you're dealing with a thinker here. And I love to play with the mind. I love to play with your mind sometimes. So, it is what it is. I remember one time I was eating and some shit flew up my mouth. I was like, oh my gosh. Sometimes you can just look outside before you leave your house and you can tell what kind of day it's going to be. You're like, oh, okay, it's going to be one of those kind of days. Before you even go outside. I am going out today, though. I have to. I'm almost done. Maybe I just need a spanking. I just ordered some t-shirts yesterday from this website. And it said that the delivery could be from, I think, July, the end of July. Like 20-something. But guess what? I got a notification saying they shipped today. I'm like, oh yeah. Oh yeah. That was fast. This is almond milk. Because I'm lactose intolerant. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Listen, I amaze myself. I have fun by myself. Y'all just don't get it. Alright, I'm done. Want to go put my dishy away. Oh shit. Oh no. Oh no. Are you okay? Alright, I'm so sorry. Stand up there. I didn't mean to drop you. I'm so sorry. Alright. I did just get out of the shower, by the way. Okay. Y'all ready? My videos are only made for a certain audience, okay? I remember I said this like on my very first YouTube video. I think it was my very first one. I said one of the first 3 that I did. And there's a way you guys can go check out my very first YouTube videos. But I remember the exact words I said and how I said it. I said, if you don't like my videos, you ain't gotta watch them. And my voice is still the same. I said, nobody is making you watch my videos. You come over here because you know I have something to say. You know I have something good to say for y'all. This is the best combination. Water, cold water, when you're eating cereal, and especially after you finish, it's just the best. Because the coldness of the water, it like overpowers the milk, and it just tastes so good. All right. So let's begin. So I'm making this video because there have been some comments made on my videos, and also from my interaction with men. This is not something that is new or unusual. Like, this is something that has come up in the past previously about men trying to really understand this whole dynamic of dominance and submission, and me being a baby girl. And I know I had to be very careful about the way I titled this video, because even social media platforms don't recognize hardly this dynamic, or at least not in African Americans. I mean, because there's a plethora of freaking videos made by white women on being a submissive and being a baby girl. And I wonder if they're monetized, because for some reason YouTube will not allow me to monetize videos when I'm talking about submission or BDSM. Or it depends though. It depends. A lot of my cuckold videos though are monetized, so kudos to YouTube. But it just goes to show that some of these niche fetishes within BDSM, alternative lifestyle fetishes, aren't really recognizing, especially with the labeling of it. They're like, whoa, 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 what is this? Wait, this seems inappropriate. This seems like it could be pedophilic. And I'm like, oh hell no, you got me fucked up. Yeah, right? Because what they see is daddy and they see baby. Daddy, dom, baby girl. And we're talking about a dynamic. And I think it's interesting because it's really not about sex. A lot of times people go the sex route. They automatically make the association or interpretation that daddy, dom, baby girl is about sex, right? And I begin to talk about my attraction to this lifestyle and this dynamic within relationships, and men, they just think about sex. It's like, no, you're thinking about sex before I even introduce the topic, right? It's just, men just always think about sex. Everything is just sex for them, right? And it gets kind of annoying because it's like it misses them, right? So they don't get it. And I'm like, how can you not get it? That this dynamic, I mean, yes, it could be related to sex, but it goes deeper. It goes much deeper than a sexual attraction, right? Sex is just sex. I mean, sex can be boring after a while when you think about it, especially vanilla sex. It's just boring, right? And no matter how packing a guy is, because you guys are like, oh, I'm packing, I can lay it down. It really doesn't matter, because you're dealing with a person who has a different type of attraction, right? It's like, it's different. I'm different, right? And I can't say that I speak for all submissive baby girls. I wouldn't say that. I'm speaking for myself. And so in this video, I'm going to try to give you guys a little bit more insight into the world of daddy dom, baby girl, or little as they call it. Now it's funny because I remember this was, when did I do my cap and gown photo shoot? It seems like, oh my gosh, time flies. I think it was in June, whenever it was. It was like weeks ago. I went to Central Park, met my photographer there, and as we were walking through the park to find like locations for my shoot, I stumbled across this group, and I knew exactly what it was when I saw it, right? Because I'm just so well read and just have a lot of exposure to many different things, right? And so immediately when I saw this group, because it was a group of white people, of course. I don't know, was it a black person in the group? I can't remember, but I do recall white men. And there was a couple of white men actually rolling in diapers. They were wearing diapers, adult-sized diapers, of course, because these were men in diapers. Only diapers, though. Nothing else, just an adult-sized diaper rolling on the ground, yo. My photographer's crying. It's funny because my photographer, he was like, oh, look at that. They're having fun. I said, oh, yeah, like, that's BDSM. Some people don't get it, but they were also doing a photo shoot. And I just thought it was cute. It's cute, you know. And then, so there is this thing where, okay, yes, it's baby girl, but also it can be baby boy. It can be mommy / baby boy, where you have adult men who are attracted to being dominated by adult women or mommies. But this video is going to focus on daddy dom, adult men, and baby girl, adult women. And so going back to this whole misconception that this dynamic could be related to, I'm like, what? Could be related to pedophilia. It's like, no, I don't even want to like hash on that too long because it's just a very sensitive topic. But I have to clear the air a bit because some people are misguided and they assume that, oh, it's related to pedophilia. And it's like, it's much different. Pedophilia is involving actual children. This dynamic where an adult woman takes on the role of a younger, regressed child, and you have daddy doms coming in to her rescue. No. You have daddy doms who are attracted to that regress role within an adult woman. That's different than a man, or it could be a woman, but oftentimes we see men, especially in the news, being attracted to little children or children, right? Because a child is a child in a child's body. Daddy doms, no, not attracted to children in a child's body. They're attracted to women, adult women who have the mind, the regressed mind of a child, because it's really about power play. So I wanted to be clear, and someone also commented to say that, oh, being a baby girl runs the risk of attracting pedophiles. I'm like, I have never attracted a pedophile to me. That's not my thing. That is not my thing. I like dominant men, okay? Dominant men who like women. Women. Adult body, right? I have an adult woman's body, right? I menstruate every single month. It's just, and even my mind, when it comes to my mind, right, my mental state, for the most part, my mental state is above average, especially when you think about my cognitive abilities, right? Like, yo, I have a freaking PhD, or I will have a PhD. I just graduated, right? And my degree will be conferred this year. Maybe not even in less than a month, right? And so it's just like, let's be clear. But there are times when I do find myself regressing. And I want to talk about that here in this video because it's fascinating to me. It's fascinating. And it's about the power play, the power exchange that a dominant man likes when he sees that within an adult woman. Right? In an adult body. Going back to my initial introduction, I think I would say, to BDSM was back in 2014. It all goes back to 2014, but I actually think it goes back beyond 2014. But I can say that was a marker in history, the significant marker in history where met this master. Was a very fine master though at it. Like, that's how you know. Not every man, not every daddy dom can carry the title of a master. Unfortunately, it's really about the mental. It's really about a person's cognitive ability. You have to be smart. I wouldn't say educated necessarily, even though it does take some research. But you do have to have a certain wit about you to be able to connect to another adult person on a level where you can take control over them. Because people don't necessarily, I mean, one can say a person gives up control, right? But I think it's a dynamic, right? Where it takes two working together. So a woman, because I know sometimes I come across men and they're so frustrated, like, why won't you submit to me? And it's just like, yo, a woman just doesn't give away her submission. In fact, submission is a gift. So come across men who are like, it's kind of weird having a woman submit to me all the time and I'm just bossing her around and telling her what to do. Baby, it's not for you. This dynamic isn't for you, okay? There are different things. Different strokes for different folks, different things that tickle people's fancies, and apparently this dynamic is not for you. But a true dom will definitely value the submission of a woman. That's what he wants. That's what solidifies and validates his dominance, right? Being able to have a submissive that he can tell what to do. And it's not about, just bossing her around. This is a mutually consenting agreement. This is things that they talk about, right? And another misconception that came up, I have to address the misconceptions first, right? It's that it's about, this whole dynamic is about, a submissive being bossed around, told what to do, not having the ability to engage in back and forth reciprocal conversation, talk about intellectual or intellectualized topics. And it's just like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You're talking to a scholar here. Of course I like to engage in that. It's just a matter of, like, when it comes to being involved with a guy, a man that I am intimate with, that I care about, that I have feelings for, he has feelings for me, it's a back and forth. It's a different dynamic. And I think initially, of course, he has to have wit. Like, he has to have intellect. So this doesn't play out. And I think that's what makes it difficult, right, for me in dating, especially in exploring the dating scene, because a lot of men just don't have what it takes. And it's really about a man taking the lead. A lot of men, especially in our modern day society, have difficulty taking the lead. So they're like, and I see that sometimes reading like their profiles, right, and they'll make, comments in reaction to their experiences on these dating sites. And one common complaint, a theme that I've noticed consistent across different male profiles is,
women are just on this site and I'm not into one-word responses. They're just giving us one-word responses, not really saying much and not really attuned or wanting to engage in a back and forth conversation. And I'm like, that's what you think. But it's like it goes over their head. Oh my gosh. All right, listen, comment if you get this, y'all. Comment if you get it. But man, just don't get it. You miss up on so many opportunities, and you can hear the beta male-ness in them, right? Like, listen to that comment. Reading on these men's profile, and they're saying, women aren't talking. They're just giving me one-word responses. And no. We're talking about women. Women? Now, men, alpha men, dominant men who know women know that women are conversationalists. Women love to talk. It is like in our DNA. Even research has shown that women produce a lot more words than men, yo. We talk. Women talk. We're very verbose. So for a man to have a problem oh, she's not really talking, and I'm looking for a woman who can have an intellectual conversation. These women, like, oh, they're just airheads. It's like, no, I had to like inform and check some brothers. And I don't like to really go into that position. Because, of course, I identify myself as submissive. I'm a baby girl, so I prefer the other side of it. But sometimes I step out of the baby girl position, and I have to correct these men. I have to inform, I have to enlighten and educate to let them know. I mean, first of all, it's sad that you're struggling here on this dating site, number one, especially with that, because that's a very simple issue to solve, right? And all that it has to do with you, first of all, knowing a woman, knowing human beings, above knowing a woman, just knowing human nature, human behavior. If you want to engage with a complete stranger, and knowing that women are guarded, rightfully so, because we don't know you, so we have a right to be guarded. Yes, we're here to date, to, you know, meet a guy and get to know him and have fun. It's just like, men and women really are no different. We're here for the same reason. So to ask a freaking redundant question, oh, why are you on this site? I get asked that a lot. Why are you on this site? That's so redundant. We are human beings. Men and women are a reflection of each other. Who doesn't want to meet a partner and get to know them and share common interests and bond and build and be intimate and have fun and whatever? We all want the same thing, no duh, right? But yeah, it goes without saying that yes, a woman has to guard up because she has to protect herself. A woman has to protect the womb for which life comes through, right? You can't just be sticking everything up in that. Gotta protect it. Protect herself, protect her mind, her peace, right? But yet, you know, it's a challenge, right? She's met with the challenge of wanting to meet, because part of, you know, wanting to get to know someone and establishing a relationship with someone, that, yeah, there comes a point where the guard has to come down. But whose responsibility is that for that to happen? I will say, yes, this is a man. And I think a lot of women kind of put it on the man, and they have become so beta male-ish, yo. So submissive, so passive. I think passive is a better word. That they have fallen by the wayside. They have fallen by the wayside, and they don't know how to make a woman feel safe and secure. That is first and foremost the most important thing. Then once a woman feels safe, lead the conversation, yo. Lead the conversation. Don't come firing 1,001 questions. You got men be like, oh, let's play the 21 Q&A game. Who the fuck here to play games? You know? Asking a bunch of questions, no. That doesn't do it, because it doesn't really make a person feel safe necessarily. Because it's a one-way street. That's the problem with firing questions, right? Back to back. It's a one-way street. She doesn't know anything about you. She's sharing all of this information that you want her to share about herself. And with a stranger, she doesn't know you. She's vulnerable. When a person shares information with a stranger about themselves, that's a degree of vulnerability. Vulnerability is the opposite of feeling safe. So y'all have to understand something about human behavior and the mind, right? It makes sense. I'm trying to put y'all on game, right? It makes sense. So, in relating this to the whole idea of dominance and submission, yes, I think men are expected to be just dominant, to take the lead, to take the role. I guess it's easier said than done, unfortunately, because men have been brainwashed, have been socialized to become just bitches. I hate to say it that way, yo. You know? But a real dominant alpha male will value the submission within a woman, right? And for them, leading comes natural. it seemed like it should just be so easy, cut and dry. Like, yo, you have all these women at your disposal. And even if a woman is responding to a man on a dating site and she just says a few words, hi, hello, I'm good. At least, like, take that response. It's not what she said, it's the fact that she responded. Take that as her being interested, because women do not respond to people they're not interested in. Now, she could lose easily, quickly, very quickly, lose interest in you and not respond at all if you come back with some bullshit, right? You have to lead the conversation. Understanding dominance and submission. Dominance within daddies and submission within baby girls. Oh, I was giving you guys the backdrop of when I initially was exposed to BDSM back in 2014, and I had a master who was well versed at what he did, right? And no, it wasn't about the sex. In fact, we did not even have intercourse. But it was more so about him getting to know me and developing a regimen, developing a training system that was suitable for a woman like me, of my age, of my mental ability, of my cognitive ability, right? Because I think, obviously, every sub is different. And he knew how to relate. And that's how he was able to dominate. Now, I talk about this person in a fictional story that I wrote. BDSM fictional fantasy, I guess you could say. Yo, my fucking phone is blowing up with inbox messages from this freaking dating site, yo. These men, yo. I mean, I'm on here because I like to explore. I have to admit, like, yeah, I like to explore, see what's out there. But it's just like, it's, I guess, dominant alpha men, they're few far in between, I guess, It's becoming like a thing of the past. But yeah, so like, yeah, he had it, right? And, he was educated. Actually, I think he had a master's degree. I don't know if that really has much to do with it, because there are men who aren't formally educated, but they have this. And it's just something about that old school. You know what I'm saying? They hold on to that old school. See, a lot of y'all men have given in and y'all wearing these skinny jeans and shit. No, skinny jeans fucking up y'all mental, yo. That's what it is. Wearing them skinny jeans and shit like that. It's like, no, like, you gotta retain your manhood, retain your masculinity, if you want to enter into this kind of dynamic with a woman. So I think it was easy for me to submit, because he established a degree of safety first and foremost. Like, he communicated his dominance in a way that made me feel secure. And he always checked in. It wasn't so, oh, you do what I say. Because I come across some fake ass doms on these dating sites, yo. And one I can recall recently. It's like, yo, you fake. You want to be a dom. You want to be a master, but you ain't it. He's like, oh, I want to put a collar on you. I want to own you. I'm like, okay. That's your goal. But who the fuck are you? I don't owe submission to anyone. So understand, like, off rip, submission isn't just something that's just given. Like, just hand it away. Here you go. Here's submission. I'm going to submit. Like, no. It requires a degree of trust. The same things, the same principles, right, that are necessary in typical vanilla relationships, regular relationships, they're also expected in BDSM, kink relationships. It has to be trust there. You have to establish that first. That is, I think, the hardest thing for men to do when it comes to getting to know a woman, though. How is that hard to do? I mean, 2014 was a little ways ago, right? We're in 2021. But thinking back to how, I'm trying to remember, like, how he did it. I think it was just more about him being consistent with communication. Consistency. Because a lot of y'all Negroes not consistent with communication. Like, you ask for a woman's phone number, but you're just inconsistent with it. You beg for her attention on these dating sites or in person, but you're not, like, don't distract a woman, because women, we're focused, right? We got our own program going on with our own life. And if you're going to distract a woman from that, please come with it. Like it's like, what do you want? what? And then don't make a woman give you that reaction. Like, what do you want? You know? Like, have something to say. Be confident in yourself and your ability to lead, to direct that conversation, to direct the course of what's going on. And also to, ask for her feedback. It's a two-way street here. Yes. This is a choker. I got this several years ago before I moved to LA, when I was living with my ex in the Bronx. I was the one really into BDSM. He was just a naturally dominant man. I kind of introduced him to that. I talked about him before. But yeah, he thought like my interest in BDSM, me getting like chokers and handcuffs, I was all into that. I'm like, yo, tie me up, yo. I'll talk about that maybe later. So yeah, going back to like the master guy that I met in Atlanta, like I said, like people, especially men, they go the route of making association with sex. And like I said, that relationship didn't involve any sex, right? No intercourse, let's say. But he, like, in the beginning, like, he established trust. He got to know me. He made me feel safe. He was consistent in communication. He set rules early on. Now, this is the thing that a lot of men don't get, right? Because there was a comment made on one of my videos by a man who just didn't get, he just went over his head. He didn't get the whole dynamic between dominance and submission, right? And so he assumed that I, as a woman who identifies as a submissive baby girl, just wants to be told what to do, tossed around, and by a man. Are you kidding me? With the dignity and respect that I have for myself? Are you kidding me? No, it's not about that. This is where men misinterpret it. When I say I want to be told what to do, it's a security. You have to understand, what is a motivating factor? Is it really being told what to do? Is it really about her wanting to be told what to do? Or being told what to do, is that a mechanism for something that she desires, which is security, structure? That's why you got to be smart. You got to be a smart man to engage in this kind of activity, this lifestyle. A lot of men, they don't get it. First of all, they're not mature enough. And that guy who left that comment, he definitely wasn't mature enough to be able to understand this dynamic. Because he came up with a lot of misinterpretations, yo. It's like so way off, so off base. It's just like, you don't get it. But he was a beta male, though. So it makes sense why he doesn't get it. Yo, alpha males who watch this video, it goes without saying, right? Like, they get it. They get it. It's just, it's I don't know, it's unnerving sometimes. But setting the structure. So he did that by setting rules. And one of the rules was check-in. You know, that he required me to check in with him like 3 times throughout the day. Now, it wasn't like, oh, you're going to check in with me at this time, and this time. You're going to do it because I said, no. Nah, bruh. You don't come off like, see, it's all about your delivery, your approach. A lot of y'all men, y'all just ain't suave. Men used to be suave with it. Y'all men just be throwing shit out there, saying shit just way off base, yo. Instead, he consulted with me. So it's a level degree of sophistication where, as a dom, he was in control, right? He was still in control, but he made me feel like I had some control by asking me what times would I like to check in with him. And we negotiated those times before it was set. Like, okay, this is going to be your check-in time. I think it was something like, I don't know, 8, because he wanted me to get up out the bed, like 8, 12, and I don't know, 7. I don't remember the exact times, but something like that, right? And of course, if I missed the check-in time, if I was late, 1 minute late, 2 minutes late, then there were consequences, which I like, because he played upon those, like he played upon my desire, because I have a desire to be disciplined. Anybody who knows me knows I like discipline. So, yeah. So, yeah, the discipline spankings, right? And the discipline spankings were more like, I mean, it was kind of reinforcing when you think about it from a psychological perspective, right? Behavioral modification perspective. If a person likes discipline, physical discipline, being spanked, right? And you offer that as a punishment or consequence to misbehavior, all that's going to do is reinforce that behavior. Like the acting out, the bratty-ish, right? The bratty behavior. And a lot of doms can complain like, oh, they don't like bratty subs because they just want a sub to be agreeable and do what they say. Right? They don't want to go through the whole rigmarole of shaping that sub's behavior and giving that sub so much attention to the point where not only the spankings are reinforcing, but just the attention alone is reinforcing. So he was smart enough to know how to deliver the discipline, the punishment. He knew I liked it. But that was like what brought us together too at the same time. Like that was a bond that kind of brought us together. And I have to say this because sometimes men, like if you're going to be in control, you got to be in control, right? And sometimes men aren't really in control of themselves, right? So if you can't control yourself, how can you control another individual? Some men, in terms of having the discipline, just let's talk about sexual discipline, right? Within themselves, they lack that. And I was watching a video. This is like a little caveat, but it's related. I was watching a live video of this couple who just recently got together within the conscious community, based in like Northeast, I think, PA area, right? And he wasn't, to make a long story short, okay, he was just like kept fucking perseverating over the idea of, oh, sex. I gotta have sex. You gotta fuck me. And she's right. Like, his girl is like right there. Like, they're in this video together, right? And he's just like, yeah, I gotta have sex whenever I want it. Sex. And she's like, I'll have sex with you, but I'm not like that, right? And he was like, oh, well, there are other women out there who will. He's dead ass serious. This is not really so much for the camera. Like, he's just expressing himself, sharing with the public, like, his mind and his desires, who he is. And he's like, well, yeah, there are other women out there who will, and that's the reason why men are polygamous, because, we got to have a bunch of sex, and sex. I was like, okay. And I had to say, that's a turnoff when you think about it, right? Because it shows lack of discipline. And it shows really who's in control. Now, he identifies himself as a dominant man, or I'm a dominant alpha man. But clearly, her and her femininity, she's in control. She has the power. I'm like, yo, you want her and you need her more than she needs you. Which means she has more power over you. Because when a person sees, okay, that you need sex so much, sex, I have this thing, I just need to have it. And she has something that you need, that thing between her legs then becomes what? A manipulation tool, right? And she can use that to control you, to manipulate you. You don't have the power. That's a weakness for you. It's not to say, okay, sex isn't a natural desire. We all fucking like sex, right? Because we all have nerve endings. When it's stimulated, it makes us feel good. So yes, but for a woman to have more control over that part of her sexuality than a man, something is wrong. You have to be disciplined. This guy, the master that I was telling you about, the one in Atlanta back in 2014, he had discipline. He could go without. He didn't need sex. We didn't even have sex. Because it wasn't about the sex. You guys have to get it. It wasn't about, you have to get what it's about is not about the sex. When you get past that, right? When you get that in your mind, that is really not about the sex, but it's something more delicate, right? It's something more important than the sex that's underneath all of these fetishes. Then you can really tap into it. Then you can really get to it, right? And you'll see the beauty of it. So a lot of times people miss the beauty of, interaction and intimacy because they just really think it's about the sex. He knew that within me there was a desire for me to be controlled, to be dominated, not to be thrown around like a freaking teddy bear and here, you do this and you do that and boss around or even treat like a slave, because there are different gradients to submission, right? And I had to make that clear because this other person commented on my video and assumed that I want to be treated like a slave and I don't have a mind and I can't engage in conversation, intellectual conversation. And that's not what this dynamic is about. It is about back and forth conversation. And of course I love that. And of course I have the mind to do that, clearly. I mean, that's not up for debate. But the driving force is to be owned. And what does that mean, though? What does being owned mean, right? There's a sense of security there. And so he met that need for me. And for a true dom, for true doms, it's a match made in heaven. Because they get off on dominating. You can tell a beta male because he's like, oh, I don't want to be with a woman that just wants me to boss her around and tell her what to do all the time. And that can be so exhausting. You're not a freaking dom. You got to know what a dom is. You're not a dom. Not even an alpha male. That's not in your nature, and that's okay. Accept who you are. You want an equal, right? Now, we're all equal in value, yes. But when I say equal, I mean equal in terms of there's no hierarchy of power in that relationship. In vanilla relationships or typical, especially modern day, beta male-ish relationships with a woman, it's equal power. If anything, a lot of times this is a man, this is a woman. A woman has a little bit more power, and men are okay with that in terms of decision making. The guy who commented in my video, he was like, oh, I want a woman who can make decisions on her own. I don't have to make every decision for her, right? Okay. That's this. Whereas in BDSM, this is a man, this is a woman. Men, dominant men want to have this power. They want to have this stratification of power in the relationship. And that's what makes it a match made in heaven. They're okay with that. They complement each other. The sub wants to submit, wants to relinquish the power. Of course, with someone that she trusts, that she feels is going to take care of her. And the man wants to take that power, take control. And yes, I did trust him. And he never harmed me. That's the thing. He never harmed me. But I have to say this, though. Because this is a moment of truth. I have to say this. That the only thing that was wrong in that relationship, which I came to discover after I think the bond was being nurtured between us, right? And it was so disappointing to find. I'm pretty sure you guys can probably guess what it was, right? I saw on his finger a ring, just like I have a ring. And a lot of guys ask me, oh, you have a ring on your finger. I've never been married, though. I just wear this ring on this finger because it's the only finger that it'll fit on. The other fingers are too small or too big. This is the only finger it'll fit on. it actually says God is love on the ring. But he didn't have an actual ring, but he did have a mark, right, where you can tell he was wearing a wedding ring. He just had taken it off. And I'm like, what's that? So this is where the rational, cognitive, mature mind came in for me, right, as a woman. Because that man wanted to come in and say, I want a woman who I can have a conversation with. Okay, you want a woman that you can have a conversation with, huh? A lot of men, they say what they want, but they don't really know what the fuck they want. Right? Because then they complain, like, oh, she's just blah, 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 whatever. So I confronted him about that, and I'm just like, what is that? And he couldn't even lie about it. I'm just like, I know you're married, yo. He couldn't even, you can't do that with somebody who got sense, yo. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I may have moments and desire to regress back to a younger state of mind, right? But it doesn't mean that I'm not freaking aware, right? And I'm aloof to what's happening. And so, yeah, I had to check that. And at that point, that's when the relationship ended, because I'm just like, I can't do that. I can't. First of all, I don't like deception. We got to keep it 100. That throws everything away. The trust that he worked so hard to build, which he earned, right, from me, it was there, but then it was shattered because here was a secret that he was keeping, and it's a lie, right? And I didn't want to pursue that relationship anymore, and I had to just. It was hard though. It was hard saying goodbye. It was hard. It was really hard. But, my book, Dying to Submit, obviously is dedicated to that relationship that we had. And I wouldn't even say it's a situationship, because situationships is just like, can be thrown away. I wouldn't necessarily throw that relationship away, because I think it's very special. And it did lay the foundation for, he taught me, and he was definitely a master. He taught me in a sense of what a relationship should look like, minus the fucking infidelity on his part towards his wife. Why do men do that? It's just cheating. That's why I'm like, sometimes I'm glad that I'm single, because men, y'all be living double fucking lives, yo, for real. It's just keep it 100. If you're a polygamist, just let your wife know you're a polygamist and this is what you want to do. It's better just to be open, but I think sometimes men, they just like the mystique of keeping a secret and their partner doesn't know. Just like, it's edgy. It's edgy to be out there doing things behind your partner's back and they have no idea what you're doing. Yeah, someone left a comment. Sometimes people leave comments that have nothing to do with the topic, but I get it. I mean, I'm trying to respect people's perspective, I mean, I'll read the comment, but I just feel like it doesn't really hit. It doesn't really hit to what I'm talking about, but he's trying to make it relate. So this person says, you know what it is? There are women who are raised in a loving household where submission, and he spells where, W-E-A-R, nah, okay, where submission can apply, and then there is women raised in a broken household where they used to not being submissive but self-sufficient. I don't know what the fuck that guy do with this video, but I think he's just talking about how the nature of a woman, such as myself, being a baby girl, and sometimes regressing, right? As regressing back to an earlier mental state. And I sometimes say I like to the age, because that's something that's talked about within BDSM. Like, what is the age of the baby girl, right? What is your mental age? And I would say mine is probably like 16, 12 to 16 years old, right? Not that that is like my cognitive age, right? Like, no, obviously, like I'm a very smart, wise, intellectual woman, but I can regress back to that developmental age, right? It's a regression between 12 to 16, and one may say, oh, why is that, right? And one may try to link it back to childhood to say, oh, well, you had an absentee father, which that wasn't really the case. In fact, my father was very much present. I was a daddy's girl. I'm still a daddy's girl. And I think what it is, to better explain it or to understand it, is one can look at, let's say, the Piaget developmental stages or Erikson developmental stages. Those were two prominent developmental psychologists, right? That's well studied through the discipline of psychology. And they basically developed these developmental stages saying that, between a certain age, certain tasks are met, right? Certain things are present. And oftentimes, when that task has been met and achieved, they go to the next stage, right, successfully. But there are times where a person can be fixated. A child may become fixated within a certain stage because they assume that, okay, they haven't quite met those tasks that are expected within that developmental period. And I like to argue. I always like to argue these theories. They're not freaking laws of science necessarily, but they're theories within psychology. And a theory could have, a good basis for understanding behavior, right? But theories are also up for critique. And so will I say that I was fixated in a certain developmental stage, or I'm fixated in a certain developmental stage because I haven't quite successfully met those tasks that are expected within that developmental time frame? I wouldn't say so. I would say I have achieved successfully every single task that was required, but I would say maybe sometimes a fixation can come because it's just, if something feels good to you, right? Like, and I try to explain this to one of my professors, to say that behavior seen within adulthood doesn't always come necessarily as a deficit, right, to something that was lacking in childhood. And that's oftentimes how psychologists like to interpret adult maladaptive behavior. In terms of, okay, if there's a maladaptive behavior present within adulthood, there is something in your childhood that went wrong. There's something that was missing. There's a deficit there, right? And I'm like, no, what about a person just misses that? What about they experience something that felt good to them and they want to maintain that as an adult? Could it just be that? Doesn't mean that they missed it. Because I'm thinking about my own relationship with my father, who was very much present, and I loved it. I love that dynamic so much to the point where I want to see it carry over forever, right? I never want to let go of that. Even, I lived with my dad all my life, pretty much, except for age 12 to 16. But even still, during that period when my mom left my dad, I was still visiting my dad. I still had contact with my dad, frequent contact. And at 16, I went to go back to live with him, where it was just me and him. And we spent a lot of time together. And that connection, I always wanted to just take with me, right? But I knew I had to, grow the fuck up. I had to grow the fuck up. And I guess one could say, oh, what about the age between 12 to 16? Because you did mention that you like to regress between 12 to 16. Well, that's just me, I think, in hindsight bias, because hindsight is always 20/20, to try to make sense of the regression. I say perhaps, that's my own theory that, okay, if I had to link it, if I had to link my tendency to regress, I guess, in relationships with men to a certain developmental age, in terms of my presentation, like how my behavior is, I would say that is around the age of 12 to 16. I'm very comfortable in that. And ironically, or not ironically, that's the same period of my life when I was living with my mom from age 12 to 16. I don't think it's ironic though. I think it's just the way that I kind of interpret it and line things up just to make it make sense. Like, you gotta try to make it make sense. But I don't know if that would be any different if my mom didn't leave my dad though. Because even prior to age 12, and I talked about this in videos that I have made about, how can I put this? Videos that I've made about my relationship with my dad and how, yes, I've had fantasies. And this is, like I said, this is before age 12, you guys, before my mom and dad separated. Where, yes, I would fantasize, you know, about my dad. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but yes, I would fantasize about my dad. And so it's just, one can ask the question, well, would that, you know, would I have this developmental regression of a 12 to 16-year-old had not my mom separated from my dad when I was 12 years old? I would say yes. It probably would still be there because it was just a connection. I don't think people who know me know. Like my sister, you know, anyone in my immediate family can tell you, like, Danielle has always been like up under her dad. She loved her dad. Before and after my mom's separation from my dad, right? Like, she's just always been a daddy's girl. That's her dad, right? And so having that type of dynamic between myself and my biological father, and it feeling so good, those memories, like when I think about my dad, it's just all positive memories, right? Much different than when I think about my mom, unfortunately. So I think it makes sense to why I think even as an adult, I just crave that dynamic because it feels so good and it's very reassuring and it just makes me feel just so bubbly inside, like, oh. And of course, I mean, as an adult, I can't have sex with my fucking dad. I would never have sex with my dad. People wonder, like, even when I made videos about, oh, the dream that I had about my, like, yo, that would fucking never happen. That's why it's a fucking dream. But would I like to have a relationship with a man who resembles my dad? Of course. Is there anything wrong with that? No. Because my dad just pretty much set the template for how I would like to relate to a man. And that's how I relate to men. How is that a bad thing, though? To relate to men in a way where I am submissive. I'm submissive to my dad. You know? In a healthy way, of course. You know? Because I know some of y'all mind, y'all be going there. But no, like, it's just a dynamic, it's a power dynamic, you know, and having that reverence for a man and respect for a man, I don't see anything wrong with that. Now, like I said, the beta man who commented on my video, he's just like, oh, I just don't understand how a woman like to be bossed around. I mean, that's another gradient, I think, to submission. Is being told what to do. Is one thing to submit to a man, another thing to really want to be dominated by a man, right? And told what to do. And I think that comes from my mom. My mom's rearing of me. Because she was, you know, I talked about this before, where she was the disciplinarian in the household. She fucking didn't play the radio. And yes, I would get beatings that I would say are likened to what it was like during slavery, when slaves, like I would go to school and watch slave movies of slaves getting beaten, bare back, whipped, you know what I'm saying, and webs being left across their back, and it reminded me, like I resonated with the slave, not only being an African American, being a descendant of slave, but also just having gone through that experience, right, and at the time going through that experience, and then going to school and watching it on the fucking screen, I'm just like, damn, I fucking get whooped like this at home. So I think with that being set as a template also, growing up in a household like that, where I got fucking beat, you know, we were made to lay across the bed, strip off our clothes first, obviously, and lay across the bed, you know, and just take it, right? And then obviously that kind of set the template for what love looks like, I think. And so yes, I do kind of require, I was going to correct myself and say I kind of expect, but it's almost like a requirement. It is a requirement. Like in relationships, it's difficult for men who aren't driven to that. I get it. Like, what? I'm not going to do that to you. I haven't had a man necessarily say that because I'm careful in who I establish like intimacy with. I'm careful who I like go there with, right? And I make sure that if I'm going to be involved with someone, like, it's going to be understood. Some things have to just be understood from the jump. Because there's no point. It's no point in us wasting time, you know what I'm saying, getting to know each other if that's not you, bro. That ain't you. You know what I'm saying? You got to be right for me. And vice versa. So I think I've said enough here in this video. But yes, I love being a baby girl, and I hope you guys have developed a deeper understanding of that dynamic. No judge zone here. Like, it's no judging. If you feel the need to judge, this video isn't really for you. This is for open-minded people who are curious about the lifestyle and want to know just more about it through a certain lens, which is the lens that I'm giving you guys through a certain perspective. But it's a wonderful thing when a guy gets it. And I find myself regressing sometimes in situations where it's just like, Danielle, what are you doing? What are you doing? Because, like, yo, for example, and I'll say this before I end my video, right? Of course, like, training to become a psychologist, you know, I've went through fucking many layers of supervision by psychologists, right? And I'm pretty sure my supervisors have caught on to it too. I'm pretty transparent, like, I'm pretty open, right? But I'm pretty sure they caught on to it too, like how sometimes they probably can catch, like, I do regress, like in supervision meetings sometimes, I'll regress. And I go into like, but I catch myself though, like I'm very self-aware. So I do catch myself when it happens, and I'm just like, oh shit, I'm going into my baby voice. And I think it happens when I think I'm under a lot of stress too. Like when I'm under a lot of stress, and sometimes discussing very difficult clinical cases can obviously induce some stress. And I wouldn't say mentally, like I wouldn't say like my ability to make sound judgment or decisions is regress. I would just say sometimes my voice, it comes out of my voice, like I'm like, up. Have to catch myself, right? But I think it's really become part of my personality. Like, that's the beauty about like psychology and behavior, is that, you know, after a while, behavior, when it becomes there's a pattern of behavior that happens over a period of time. This pattern kind of becomes solidified and ingrained in really who a person is, right? And their way of interacting with the world. So it is what it is. But I can go on and on forever. I'm going to end this video because I want to get me some real food. I'm about to go grab me something to eat, and I'm about to go just out and about, probably in a city, and I might go live later. But feel free to leave your comments below. Let me know what you guys think about this. Like, just to be tied up, but that obviously being tied up though, that comes like, yo, certain things gotta be in place to be tied up. You understand where I'm coming from? That's just not something you jump right into. And going back to the guy that I met, I didn't meet him in person, but we exchanged a few words on the dating site. The one who said, oh, I want to put a collar on you. It don't happen like that. You way off in the future, bruh. It don't happen like, you gotta, it's a stepwise, actually it's not even that many, like big of a step. It's like tiny steps, like stepwise. Y'all get the idea. But I'm about to go. It is a stepwise progression, but I'm going to end on that note. I will catch you guys in the next one. Thank you guys for tuning in. Feel free to leave your comments below and share this video and get it right because all right, love you guys. Bye.